And we have started recording. With the duty masters out of the way, I'd like to introduce our speakers. The first speaker of the day. And our first speaker of the day is Georgie. Georgie is is a longtime member of our club. She's a seasoned speaker, and she will be presenting a topic in the past few weeks, she has been presenting topics on financial planning, family wealth, how to plan your money, retirement planning, etc. They're very comprehensive, very detailed, and have taught me a lot of things. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Georgie.
Thank you, Harun, for that intro. Today, we're going to continue talking about finances. We're going to continue talking also about the concept of family wealth. This is a very big topic, so I've split it into multiple speeches. Just to remind you what we covered last week, which was that it's important to have financial planning, whether you're doing it yourself, just for yourself, or for a whole group of people. When you do have a financial plan, as you can see from this result of a survey that was taken, 63% of the people who had plans felt more financially stable. They were better able to pay their bills. They had an emergency fund. They were able to save. They were also able to pay their bills on time, not take on any bad debts. Once again, all great things to consider. Now, when it comes to thinking about your finances, people can do that pretty easily, but once you start doing it, you maybe start thinking about what you might have learned and be able to pass on to other people that you care about, like perhaps your own family. Then you might start thinking about ways that you and other members of your family can come together to help each other out. One of the ways you might want to consider doing it is that there's some tips I got from this good book called Family Wealth by James E. Hughes Jr. He is a lawyer by training, but he's gotten into family financial planning. And he has said that there are three things that really change when you start thinking about investing for a group of people like a family versus an individual. Those three big changes are changes in how you think about wealth, money, and time. Starting with the concept of wealth. Most people, when they think of wealth, they think of financial capital. They think of money. They think of bonds, stocks, assets like businesses or land or things like that. And that is certainly true. That is certainly wealth. But there's another way to think about wealth. Inside of a family, the actual people of the family, the human beings, are kind of a form of human capital. So once again, another source of wealth. The other thing is that every one of these people have a unique education, a unique way of looking at the world, and you can think of that as sort of intellectual capital that the family has as well. As a really good example of how one can use these different aspects, there's the concept of the Rothschild family, who have been very successful in maintaining their wealth over the generations. Rothschild has become the epitome of the word wealth. It all began, though, with Mayer Amschel Rothschild back in the 1700s. He was a German factor. That's a type of businessman. So he basically put deals together. Wasn't any big shot or anything like that, but he had a sufficient amount of understanding about businesses and a bit of money. But he also had 5 sons. Think of these sons as the capital of the family. So he was very clever in what he did. He sent his 5 sons to 5 different capitals in Europe. This way, they distributed the family's human intellectual capital. He also gave a loan to each of his 5 sons. Notice he did not give money to his sons. He loaned them money. The concept is that he knew that his sons would open their banks in other places, but that they would be competing against people who didn't have a rich father to give them money. So the competition would work really, really hard, and his sons might not learn the value of money if it was just given to them. But he did give them a low interest rate and had them repay the loan back to essentially the family. The other thing that he made his sons do is that they had to send him long letters detailing all the things that were happening in these individual places, what was going on in business, what was going on in government, diplomacy, the local gossip, everything. That way, the family could not only take advantage of local arbitrage situations in which goods were priced at different values, but they were also forewarned when things happened. This really benefited them. So, three of the family banks in Frankfurt, Vienna, and Naples failed, but the one in London and Paris succeeded. The other thing you need to think about is money. We often think that if you have a lot of money, then you must be really good with it. That may not actually be completely true. Often, in a case like this of a family and generational wealth, usually the first generation is the one that makes all the wealth. The second generation has to have a different mindset. They need to understand how to invest the money. So, once again, not everyone needs to be as up on money as you might expect, that they need to know how to answer their financial questions so they understand they are part of the larger family and the part of the larger family finances, even if, for example, they take a vow of poverty and become a monk or a nun or something like that. They are still part of the family, and the finances are still something that they need to consider, although it's not part of their daily lives. Another thing to remember is that, once again, you don't have to know everything about money. You can always work with a team of outside advisors like lawyers, accountants, real estate agents, whatever it is that your family might need. You can even use these people to form a board of advisors so they can advise your family over time with the best information most timely. A great example of this is the Rockefeller family. This began with the founder of Standard Oil, which was John Davidson Rockefeller Sr. He was an amazing businessman. Some people might say he was the epitome of cutthroat capitalism. Some might even say he's as rich or richer than Bill Gates, for example. He was very, very wealthy. Now, he had a son, John Davidson Rockefeller Jr. Jr. realized he was not a business person. Senior was also wise enough to realize that Junior would never be much of a business person, but that was okay. Junior didn't need to be a businessman. Junior needed a different skill set. He became the founder of the Rockefeller Foundation in 1913. This foundation is still with us today and has given away over $17 billion. So once again, both Senior and Junior did a really good job with their respective duties that they needed for their families. The other thing to consider is time. Now, when you think about time with respect to a human, you tend to think in short, intermediate, long term, thinking maybe along the same frame of mind that you might have for a business, in which short term is maybe a year or two, intermediate about 5 years, long term 10 years and above. That's nothing in a family. This is scaled along the concept of a human generation. So a family might be 20 to 30 years for short term, intermediate 50 years, and long term maybe 3 generations, which is 100 years or so. And given how long people live nowadays, that's not necessarily that big of a deal. Now, one thing to consider is that, once again, threats to the family wealth are probably not going to be coming from short-term issues like taxes or bad investments. Mostly it's going to be coming from long-term issues, lack of communication and lack of trust and common purpose among the family. Those are the things that you really need to work out with respect to time. And just to remember that, especially this time of year, the most important things in life aren't about money. It's really most about time. And this was a quote from Steve Jobs. So once again, I think we all recognize that we lost someone a lot sooner than we wanted to. So remember, time is important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Georgie. I'd like to take everybody to take this opportunity to give some feedback to Georgie and take a minute or two. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is Wai-Ming Mok. Wai-Ming is also a longtime member and a very seasoned speaker. He is going to be presenting a topic from his project, which is our Toastmasters Learning Path on pathway level number 5. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Wai-Ming Mok.
Thank you, Haroon. Hi, everybody, and especially our welcome guests. Today, I'm completing my level 5 project, and I already gave 2 speeches on this. So today, in 5 to 7 minutes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 things. One thing is we have this guidance committee, which is actually the fellow members here. And I would like to spend the next 2-3 minutes to get some feedback from the guidance committee. And then I'll do a final report in the last remaining minutes. And that's the speech today. And so level 5 project is final project for a pathway within Toastmasters. And it took me a long time to get to this project because this project involved a lot of pieces. And I try to condense it essentially into 5 different activities. And this is showing this calendar here. On December 16th, I started the first speech, which is the introduction to this project. And then I conducted 2 workshops on 16th and 23rd, and then gave an intermediate progress report last week. And today I'm doing the final report. So that's what this project is about. And so the first section is to ask for the guidance committee's feedback. I did send out some questions to the WhatsApp group, and I'd like to spend the next 2 minutes or so get some feedback. And this is somewhat accelerated. I apologize for some of the folks, but at the same time, I want to focus on improvements rather than anything else that we want to talk about. And because primarily we want to cohere to the time constraint that we have. So this particular project involves a number of pieces, supposedly, because it involves organizing the project. There's components of leadership, communication, interpersonal skills, problem solving, motivation, and the projection of reliability in the person that's speaking. So from the members of the club, if you have any feedback for me, would you like to voice that? Georgie, you're on mute.
Yes, I am.
Do you have any feedback?
Not really, no. I looked over a little bit what you sent, and I thought that you did a really good job summarizing what we did with the last few meetings, especially with the different topics of things that you could pull into your overall project, which was how to organize better, more topics for speeches and how to get more feedback on them. So I thought you did quite a good job on it all.
Yeah, thank you. And for the group here, this project is somewhat contrived. I have to use that word contrived because it's meant to, if you're in a company, working for a company, you develop the project plan and then you communicate it to the stakeholders, get their approval, and then move forward to execution of the project. But that's really a lot of work. And for Toastmasters, I have sort of condensed all that into this 2-week activities, set of activities. So it's somewhat contrived, but at the same time, it does sort of have the gist of what this meant is like you introduce the project and then you execute on it and then you report on the results. So that's what I've done. In any case, so that's the feedback we got. And we're already 4 minutes into the 7 minute. So I'm gonna move forward with the final report. The final report is we had a second workshop last week, right after the Toastmasters meeting, with a 30-minute meeting. We had 3 other members, including myself, total of 4 people attending the workshop. And the emphasis there was talk about in 5 to 7 minutes, what can you deliver in terms of speech and how do you organize it? And so for 5 to 7 minutes, there's actually not much time. And so one of the suggestions was we want to maximize to 3 points, 3 ideas at most. And in fact, 1 idea might be quite sufficient. And part of the other component is to be able to tell a story. And like what Georgie did today, is you talk about the story of the Rothschild family. And then ideally, you want to make the story personal, because then it really conveys the idea of something that's personal about yourself is even more compelling. But a lot of times it's really hard to do. So it's a recommendation. And then you want to organize the speech with a beginning synopsis, what you're going to talk about, tell the story, and tell the points, and then summarize it at the end again. The other thing that we had a lot of discussion on is about practice before the speech. And this is a discipline that's really hard to do, especially for someone like myself. It's really hard to find the time, and also it's really hard for me to go find the motivation to actually practice before the speech. But I do it by trying to do a speech every other week. So that's one way to compensate for it. But if you have the discipline, it's really good to practice before you come and present, because by practicing, you eliminate a lot of the issues. One of the issues that I have, and Georgie pointed that out, is I tend to repeat words because I was trying to find the words to say. And if I had practice, I would have avoided those repeated words or the R's and Ums. And so that's something that really important to do. And I'll try to continue to do it. It's hard to do, but I'll do it. So that's the final report. And from the guidance committee, because of the accelerated pace, we have somewhat limited feedback, but at the same time, we did provide the final questions to before the meeting, as suggested by Georgie, so at least you have time to think about it. In any case, so that is project level 5. The idea is to organize the project, execute on the project, and then report on the project. And so far, I have completed the project. Mr. Toastmasters.
Thank you, Wei Ming. That was a great report. Congratulations on finishing your project. And at this time, please take a minute or two to give some feedback to Wei Ming. And we'll just take this minute, and then we'll go to the next section of our meeting. At this point, we're going to go to our evaluation section of our meeting, where evaluators present their evaluations of the speeches. And I'd like to introduce our general evaluator, Wei Ming. Wei Ming.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and most welcome guest. So we're going to start the evaluation section, which is for specific evaluator to provide 2 to 3 minute feedback for the prepared speeches. And we have 2 evaluators today. Our first evaluator for Georgie's speech is Jose. So Jose, would you provide, and Jose is a longtime member of this club as well, and he's going to provide feedback to Georgie. Let's welcome Jose.
Thank you. Again, good morning, everyone. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. I'll be evaluating Georgie's speech. Georgie is a longtime member, and she always gives speeches that gives you a different perspective, a more detailed point of view on things that we go through every day. And I saw that in the speech. I like the topic because naturally everybody wants to make money. So that was a big draw in her speech. As far as the speech dynamics, I like her style very much. She has a more level, is a very level way of speaking. Very good level speech. There is vocal variety within it, and you will see that she has inflection on certain important points of the speech. And I observed that. She also exhibited a lot of, you did exhibit a lot of nice gestures in certain parts of the key points that you wanted to emphasize. So I like that also as far as your topic. And when I do my feedback, I always give you a feedback on what parts of the speech that struck me as memorable. And you'll always see that when I do an evaluation. And in this one, very memorable was your mention of the Rothschilds, the Rockefeller, and basically those two historical people who made a lot of money. And so when you say that, the draw would be how do they make this money, right? But you are limited with your topic. So with that, you have to stay within topic. So but still, that was a big draw. And the key points, the key points with your speech was the fact of understanding family wealth in terms of the money, the intellectual capital, and the time. And so I got those. You had a very interesting stories as far as the Rothschild and the Rockefeller, and those were a very good key point into key points into how they live their lives, and I didn't know that. So those were very significant points, and when you made your speech. So with that being put together, you had coherence, cohere when you did it. So I like that. There's also a brief mention of the money section, which is something you had from a previous speech, and you may want to mention that you already covered money. And as far as time, you didn't spend too much time on the topic of using your time wisely, and maybe you want to do that in your in some subsequent speech, and I didn't hear that. So starting off, you did start off with your three topics of body, intellectual capital, and time, and maybe at the end, you may want to add a summary of those key points. That way, it's anchors into the audience towards the end, and those were your key points, things that you don't want to maybe summarize in a few words, things that you want your audience to retain. But overall, it's a very good speech, very well delivered. I understand you are limited in time. That's why all these demands into the speech is very demanding. But I think if just a little bit more emphasis towards the end, I think overall you have a very good composition of a very interesting speech. Thank you, Jordi.
Thank you, Jose. So we're gonna move forward with our next speaker, our next evaluator, who's Haroon, and Haroon is going to evaluate my speech. Let's welcome Haroon.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow guests, fellow Toastmasters. Wyman gave an excellent speech. I think there is no doubt about it. I think he covered all of his main topics that he wanted to cover and achieve his objectives. What impressed me particularly was his timing of his speech. He had to get not only the introduction and the main meat of his speech, but also solicit feedback. And he managed to squeeze that in within the allotted time. That was an impressive feat of scheduling and timing the audience and understanding what the audience does and how it's going to respond. So congratulations on that. Now, as far as the speech is concerned, I have a couple of things. I want to give a few things giving you an overview of the speech. You started off with an introduction and overview, solicited feedback, and then you summarized your findings and your key results of your project. I think the way you structured your speech to take that sequence was very well done. The nice thing about was the main meat of the speech, the focus on the key results. I think those key results were a really useful template for any speaker in Toastmasters, given the allotted time that we have on how to structure your speech. I feel that there is a pattern that we can all stick to, and sticking to that pattern gives us a template on how to move forward in preparing our speeches. One feedback that I noticed is about your pauses. Now, I do want to point out that it's pretty clear that you had practiced your speech beforehand. So you were practicing what you were preaching. What I did want to point out is that there was a certain pause in your speech where you kind of stopped and while it was clear that the gears in your head were thinking. My suggestion in that situation to you would be to use some kind of action to say that, hey, I'm going to take a sip of water. And it's mostly a distraction to the audience, not to thinking, oh my God, he's forgotten his speech. The speaker doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe that way you can sort of take that pause. I know that you were thinking, and that's a natural time to think about what to say next. But to use that hand gesture and action will distract the audience. The other thing is that standing a little further away from the camera might also help, because then we can see your see more of you, and that is also a sense of distraction. Right now, all we see is your face and your head, and that sort of keeps our focus on you, and you don't know whether we kind of understand what's going on. All in all, congratulations on finishing your project, and that's my evaluation. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Haroon. So we are done with the evaluation section, and then I'll come back at the end of the meeting to provide the overall evaluation of the meeting and the rest of the meeting. Let's welcome back our Toastmaster, Haroon.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Our next section is one of the most fun parts of our meeting. It's the table topics, where we have given an opportunity to everybody to give 1 or 2 minutes of impromptu speaking. And our table topics is Georgie.
Jamie. All right. Table topics is one of the more interesting parts of the meeting because it's pretty much unplanned. The concept is, if you are a startup person, as we all like to think, of ourselves as having some sort of connection in the startup industry, you might be talking with a potential investor in an elevator, for example, and they might ask you this truly off-the-wall question, and you need to bring all your thoughts together in some coherent way. Everything needs to come together, and you need to try to sound intelligent no matter how bizarre the question is that your VC or your investor has just asked you. So this is an excellent way to practice that skill set. So I'm going to ask you some questions kind of around the topic today, which is about day after tomorrow, the concept of how things are changing. And you need to try to come up with have your thoughts cohere to create a logical answer. And I will begin with, let's begin with the guy who came up with the topic, Haroon. So this is a kind of a trite and true way of getting to know someone. What would you try if you knew you could not fail?
What would I try if I knew that I could not fail? That's a hard topic to talk about because the possibilities are so endless. This is an interesting topic. I think the topic in itself, there's a problem with the premise of the question, and for me, if I knew that I could not fail, I think I'd still not be able to do anything. The problem here is that there is so much to be done that I would be paralyzed with the choices that I have to make. I think this is I will be suffering from the paradox of infinite choice. If I knew I couldn't fail, then I'd want to be able to do everything. The only problem is that if I have limited time, then I have to pick something. And even though I would succeed at it, I would fail at everything else. So I honestly, my own fear would be, it's a good thing that I have this fear of failure, because it constrains my choices, and then I can make a choice more easily. Madam, table topics.
Well done. All right. Now, I'll continue asking more questions just to remind everyone that our word of the day is cohere. It'd be great if you could have your answer cohere with the concept of the word of the day, if you can. And with that, I will then transfer over to our next question will be, what was your best investment for the year? And it could be money, could be time, could be people, as I talked about in my speech. So investment isn't just money. So what do you think was your best investment of 2020? With that, I will ask Jose.
Whenever I answer, whenever somebody asks me a question in table topics, the first thing I always say the first thing that comes to mind, and it seems like it's always going to be the best answer. And when you ask that question, what's the best investment? For the year, it's more like what I have been doing. And the funny thing, Miss Table Topics, is I felt guilty. It's like it seems like I didn't do much this year, but I have to think it through and say, oh yes, I did. I did a lot of self study because we're in COVID, so it puts you in that situation. And so, well, what topic did I study? I still went with my default. I still do something that's very enthusiastic, which is I'm very enthusiastic about, which is self development. So I did do that, and I did go through several topics, and you see that in some of my speeches. You see that I sometimes cover hypnosis or meditation. I did go through that, and there's a few more expansive topics on self development and also finances, because you inspired me. So that's a good. And so overall, yes, in terms of motivation and wealth management, I did self invest on myself. Again, back to you, Miss Stable Topics.
All right. Well done. Now, the next question I'm going to ask is going to be about what you might want to change about yourself for the coming year, because we do have a new year coming up. So we often think about how our thoughts and dreams can cohere in a coming year. So why don't you give me your thoughts on what you would like to do for yourself and improve for yourself next year, Gautam?
Thank you, Georgie. So the question is what I would do for myself the next year. Definitely, I would buy more time compared to this year, because I see buying more time has a huge impact on my goals and values. Like the first thing I did for this year is I joined Toastmaster, because every morning, Wednesday, I get up that, yeah, I need to attend this meeting. So 1 hour I'm spending productively in my life, which is 65 hours, which is roughly equal to some 5 days a week, or more than 7 days. So I'm trying to buy more time. So next year, my goal is trying to reduce my 33% of my sleep time and make it more productive, in the sense sleep productively, in a healthy way, and spend the time in a joining maybe improve my skill, learning something, or spend time with my friends. Uh, that's one thing that I can think of it. And as always, I get more knowledge from the finance presentation from you. Probably I'm gonna try with that. Uh, Try out your ideas and suggestions and see. And today I got a very good idea that like within family, like giving distribute the knowledge, like knowledge management. I would like to try that. It's an experiment. So every year, just try some experiment, wind up that, and do a log, like journaling about what I did, what failed, so that I don't repeat it next time. So time and do a proper journaling. That's my focus for the next year.
Well done. Excellent. All right. For our next question, I would like you to reflect on all the many things that happened in 2020 and how you are going to use what has happened to making improvements in your life, whether that's work, family, relationships, health, fun, entertainment, whatever it is. What did you learn from this year that you're going to bring forward to the next year and make some changes in your life? So, Tao, are you up for a question?
Yeah, sure. All right, it's an interesting question. And I'm gonna give a relatively, may not be the best answer, but we'll give it a go. So the one thing I recognize this year is that the journey is a lot more important than the result. As some of you know, I was on this 2 months road trip across US, and during which I was driving 4 or 5 hours a day. Now, this is almost as much of a, well, this is probably half a day's work for a trucker, and I was doing that for 2 months straight. Now, normally speaking, you don't drive that many hours, and it's not terribly fun, to be very honest. So the thing I recognize is that if I keep myself with the thoughts of, oh man, I got 5 hours to go. Okay, I need to get to this place by this time. The day will be incredibly miserable if that's what you think about all day. However, if you're able to change your mindset and consider those 5 hours of the journey the actual point of the day, the highlight of the day will actually be a lot better. Now you can actually look at the map, say, okay, I got 5 hours to do. Where do I stop? What are some of the interesting places I can stop to make these 5 hours enjoyable? If we see something interesting, well, let's just pull over in no rush, look it up, and then just have fun. You find this new restaurant that looks good, go ahead and check it out. Well, probably from far away, not go inside. But nonetheless, I think that's a major part of the learning to this year is that, you know, you can focus on the result and, you know, beat yourself up because you're not getting there. Or you can instead choose to focus on the journey and then try to enjoy the moments as you go. And I think that's something that I will take away even as I go towards the new year, when things become a lot crazier, because I'm going to start working again. The thing I think I will take the same mindset is that no matter what happens, you know, the result is what it is, but I can always choose to enjoy the journey. And if I do that, life will be just fine. Back to you.
Thank you very much. All right. The next question I'm going to ask is that it has been a wild year, but perhaps this wild year was actually beneficial because in some cases we really did have a chance to slow down and think about what was really important to us, right? Otherwise, we're usually so busy we don't notice time flying by. So when you think about what you got out of this previous year, to kind of give yourself a little pep talk, you know, because to forget about the past parts that weren't so great of the year, what might you want to think about? A little pep talk you're going to give yourself next year when you hit those rough spots. So does anybody have a good self-pep talk that they're willing to share with the rest of the group? Any volunteers? Shirley?
Madam Topic Table, one thing I learned last year for 2020 is memorable to me is working from home is one of the best blessings that I have ever asked for. Personally, I'm a very outgoing person. My energy comes with interacting with people coherently to exchange knowledge among the people I interacted with so that I can be energized, I can be supercharged for what I am trying to accomplish for my goal. By profession, I'm a business development finance, and I have a deep key interest in real estate. Before I work on a corporate job that had to be in the office. I still work in a corporate job, but I have the luxury of working from home. So I can be, you can see the back of my office, that my home office, I had a big calendar, super sized calendar to mark down all what I need to do to be superly organized, structured for my work career and my personal interests. So that coherently how to organize my day between my professional life, my most interest energized me personally. I feel I have been never been so productive ever in my whole life. I have been more Zoom meeting with investors. I have been accomplished my job as managing $500 million of the business development fund. So I felt like I have accomplished a lot. Actually, I'm a much happy person in 2020 than the prior year that I don't have the luxury of working from home and be so more productive and also very, very motivated. So that's what I'll be carry on for my next year goal, to be organized, to be productive, and again, we develop the super habit to be a super achiever. Table topic master.
Excellent, excellent job. So good to hear that some positive stuff came out. Yes, let's focus on the positive, people. Otherwise, it's going to be too miserable to consider. All right. So with respect to that, yes, there was a lot of positive things that came out of this year. So tell me about something in which it was initially a really big struggle for you, but you ended up exceeding your expectations. Especially something from this past year, but any time in your life in which you went in thinking you maybe couldn't do something and you actually succeeded at it. Do I have any volunteers? So Jana, would you like to take this question, or maybe?
Yeah, sure, I'll try.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question, Georgie. Yeah, I try to keep reflecting on these things once in a while. And at least as far as 2020 is concerned, I switched jobs and I started on a new team remotely, and I thought I was going to be really miserable at understanding new team dynamics and understanding the new job and everything. But I felt I did a really good job at picking up the new role, understanding the new role, getting things done. That went really well. I initially thought it would be miserable, but that didn't happen. That's it. I don't have a 2-minute, but yeah, I'll wrap it up at that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right. We have time for a remaining question. And with that, I'm going to, I was going to give it to anyone who would like it, but perhaps maybe Wah Ming, maybe. So you have just completed a really big project you've been working on. Congratulations. Do you have any thoughts about another large challenge you're going to be taking on in the coming year that you've given some thought to already? And if so, do you want to share it with us?
Miss Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmaster, most welcome guest. have I put any thought into my next major project?
Whatever that
Unfortunately,
project
yeah,
might be.
whatever that project may be. Right now, there are too many candidates in terms of the next major project. I would certainly go on the next path in next path in Toastmaster. But in terms of personally, I'm finding that I like to learn. And the last time I spent a lot of time on something is on this deep learning stuff. And that was the last 5-10 years. And there's still a lot more to learn. But there's new stuff that's coming. So the question is, do I spend time on the new stuff? And right now, I haven't decided this, but I have a lot of projects that are just started. And frankly, these projects have started for a long time and none of them have completed. And I still go to work. So it's really hard for me to pick on the projects. There's just too many to scatter. So one of the things I'm going to do, hopefully in the next few days, is to clean up my room that has all these projects, and then maybe end up with just 1 or 2 things on there that I could complete in the next year or two. We'll have to see. In the meantime, I keep adding to the room. So there's this project here, and then there are suddenly more stuff for the next project. And all these, some of them are electronic stuff, some of the software stuff, some of the other books. There's so many. And frankly, not enough time. But time is the most precious, as Georgie indicated from Steve Jobs. And that's what I'm going to try to conserve on. Miss Toastmaster.
Well done. That's quite a few questions. We are pretty much bumping up at the end of time here. Anyone would like a last question? I can give one, but other than that, oh, we got another person who'd like a question. You are a real glutton for punishment. Yay, Gautam. All right, Gautam. So let's see. This is to talk about what was an opportunity that you missed out on that you kind of regret, and maybe you're going to look forward to making certain that you can get to that in the coming year. And this can be something from this past year, this can be something from when you were younger, whenever. So what was an opportunity you believed you missed out on?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. The opportunity I missed in my previous days was like networking. So the first goal when I moved to California last year to meet a lot of people, like-minded people. Unfortunately, COVID came, but I still ended up with the startup meeting, talking to new people through online. Coherently, I'm hitting back my friends that I missed my previous days. When time flies, we get into a job, different people, we have to move certain things, and by unknowingly, not intentionally, I missed some of my friends. So I'm calling back like years of people I never spoke to them, randomly calling people, giving some surprise, sending some gifts so that they can remember me. So that's what I'm doing it. And I would like to continue this for the next year so that I can build this network. The time and network is most valuable. The 2 things I learned in my life. I was keep on focusing timing, but not building my networks. Now I am considering that, okay, I should focus on building my networks. So networks and time is most important to me. I'm looking forward to that the next year, 2021. Thank you.
Well done, well done. Yes, I think we are all looking forward to getting back to that networking concept that I vaguely remember. And also maybe hanging out in rooms with more than 3 people again will be really, really great. It's funny what you really miss when you lose it, right? And with that, I think you guys did a great job cohering your thoughts into creating your answers for these random table topics. And I would like to transition back over to, I believe, the general evaluator. so we can get a summary of the meeting. With that, I'd like to transition to Wah Ming.
Thank you, Georgie. Thank you, everybody. So that was a great meeting today. In essentially an hour, we had 2 prepared speeches. We had evaluation, and we have almost everyone spoke on the table topics. So that was conducted very well and very well organized, and the theme was good. So overall, very good meeting. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll give a very quick evaluation of the evaluators, and then call on the duty masters, and then that would be the end of the general evaluation. In terms of the evaluation, Jose gave a great evaluation for Georgie's speech. He mentioned the key things that I felt was very good in Georgie's speech in terms of showing the Rothschild as well as the Rockefeller stories and how they actually sort of transmit or continue wealth from one generation to the next to the next. And then he also mentioned that about the summary of her speech is very good in terms of limited in time. That the one thing I do have this whole idea of limited in time is in 6 to 8 minutes, it's really hard to convey lots of different ideas. And my suggestion to Georgie was to maybe eliminate 1 or 2 of the topics that was at the end of her speech. But otherwise, very good speech. And frankly, very interesting topic that I look forward to more speeches from Georgie in this area. So great evaluation from Jose. In terms of Haroon's evaluation of my speech, Haroon gave very good positive feedback on my part. He mentioned these words, key results, which several times, and this are nice 2 words because it reminds me of Google OKR, which is objective and key results, and I think that's a very good idea to sort of take away. So it reminds me, I don't know if it's related when he mentioned it, but in any case, and his suggestion about stand away from the audience is very good. In fact, if I were to, I'll continue to do this myself, but rather than actually sitting down and give a prepared speech, people do recommend, even with Zoom, to stand up and give a speech. And because when you do presentation, normally you don't just sit down, you have to stand up, you have to be able to have the gesture and so on. So I'll try to do that next time. Overall, very good evaluation from Haroon for my speech. So I'm gonna call on the duty masters. And the first person I'm gonna call is the timer. I was the timer, so I'm gonna read off the time. For Georgie's prepared speeches, 8 minutes and 30 seconds, myself 7 minutes and 19. In the evaluation, Jose gave a evaluation for 4 minutes and 13 seconds, Haroon 304. In the table topics, Haroon was 123, Jose 135, Gautam in the first table topic 158, Tao 225, Shirley 204, Sujanya 52 seconds, myself 208, and then Gautam in his second table topics 128. So that's the timers report. I'm gonna move on to the grammarians report. And I believe the grammarian is Jose.
Thank you, Wai Ming. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. For the grammarian report, I have a few coverage and phraseology, how if we have a good collection of key phrases that we could use for our speeches, our speeches will be a lot smoother. And so for Wai Ming, I would say that I did get a few repetitive words, and pauses are not bad as long as there's a good transition in between. So I would recommend maybe you use the pause for coming up with key phrases or words that you would like to go, bring forward, and the rest in the rest of the speech. So do that. And Haroon, word choice. I think one of the key we also have to improve our improve on our word choices. So as far as he said main meaning, so I was like maybe main message. And Gautam, there's also in terms of word flow, in the sense of terms. For example, he said in the sense of terms sleep productivity. Maybe you would like to say in terms of sleep productivity, something like that. So word flow. And as far as style, yes, I like the way he used his phrasing, and one of the good phrases he said was like enjoy the moments as we go. So that's very good for Tao. And so that's it. That's my report for Gomerian. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Now we'd like the word masters report. Gautam?
Thank you, General Evaluator. So the word of the day today is coher. I heard 3 people, myself, Georgie used 3 times, and Shirley used 2 times of the word. If I missed any of you, sorry, but I found only 3 people used for the day.
Thank you. I believe I used it as well. In any case, do we have a joke master?
We have one more report, our counter.
Yeah, I know. I'm curious whether we have a joke master. Haroon, you're on mute.
Yes, I can find a joke. Let me see if I can quickly rustle up a joke quickly.
Okay. And Georgie has a joke as well. You're on mute.
Georgie, go ahead.
No, she doesn't. She's waved her
Yeah,
hand.
okay, I'll go ahead and do
I'll
this.
do it.
And just to remind everybody that Haroon has sent a link about voting. So we should go ahead and remember to send him the information for voting as well. And this will be for best table topics, best evaluator, and best speaker. So with that, just go ahead and send it out. But as far as the joke goes, this is kind of an oldie that I've done before, but I like it because a Taiwanese friend of mine sent it to me. And so it kind of makes fun of everybody equally, I hope. And with that, the joke goes that the United Nations sent out a poll to everyone around the world. And the poll question was, please give us your opinion on the lack of food in the rest of the world. But they didn't get back answers. All they got back were questions. So from Africa, the question was, what is food? From Europe, the question is, what is lack? The question from Latin America is, what is please? The question from Asia was, what is opinion? And the question from the United States is, what is rest of world?
Thank you very much. So Haroon, do you have a joke, or if not, it's okay?
No, I think that is a great way to wrap up. I don't have anything that's going to match that.
Okay, what is the rest of the world in any case? So now we come to the R country report, Gautam.
Hey, thank you, General Evaluator. I counted very few R's for all the people. Haroon used less than 5, myself less than 5, Shirley less than 5, Jose between 6 and 10, Wyming between 6 and 10, Georgie, I counted no R's during your prepared speech, and also yeah, no table topics for you. And Saujanya, it's less than 6. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much. Now we have finished the duties masters, and we have finished the general evaluation of this meeting. We're going to return control back to the acting president, Haroon.
Hello, everybody. If you can, I hope everybody has voted. And I will, actually, I need to vote too.
I haven't, I'm doing it.
Yeah, please go ahead and vote. I just needed a few seconds.
So maybe while we're waiting, we can start getting the roles for next week filled in.
Yep. So do we have volunteer for Toastmaster? Anybody?
Well, I was thinking about giving a speech next week, so.
Okay. I'm not playing. I have a speech in mind, but it's,
Oh, okay.
no, but My speech is, I'm going to do my speech in about 2 weeks, I think.
I'll do a speech.
Okay. Okay.
That's Jose.
So we have 3 speakers. I can do Toastmaster again. That's okay.
Can be only evaluator.
Okay. So I'll volunteer for Toastmaster again. And you want to be evaluator?
Yes.
Got them? Okay. Okay. And we do need another evaluator. I think, has everybody voted?
Let me just ask a quick question.
ahead.
I've been speaking a bit, and that's fine. I've got more speeches, but I don't want to like crowd things too much. So does anybody want to give a speech next week? Because I can move myself to being a backup speaker. And if anybody wants to speak, you know, as a New Year's resolution, maybe I can push off for another week. So does anybody want to give a speech next week?
Yeah, I'm doing one, right? And then who else is the other?
Wei Ming is the other volunteer.
Okay, so
I can move myself as well, and you know, I can strive to give a speech every week, but I am available to move out. So if you guys want to give a speech, you're welcome.
Is anybody else interested? I don't want to like push any people from speaking.
Nope.
Yeah, I would ask. Well, Haroon said he's going to do it the week after. You know,
Yeah.
Gautam, Tao, maybe Hana. Yeah, those guys
Right.
it should consider. In any case, whenever.
Sir, I haven't prepared my speech. Probably I should do it. It will take some days. So let's see, maybe a week after next week.
Okay. Speaker. So we have our Toastmaster. And we have
I could do table topics.
table topics for Wei Ming. And we have speaker for Jose and Georgie. Jose and Georgie. And evaluator is Gautam. Do we have another evaluator?
I
can be-
can
okay.
be whatever you need me to be.
Okay, I'll put you down for an evaluator as well. And Hannah's going to be back too, so we can do that. Okay, so time to share the results. Okay. So our best table topics master was for table topics was Tao.
Yay!
Our best evaluator was myself. And our best speaker, by a strong majority, was Georgie. So congratulations, winners. And let me go take a picture as well. So thank you, everybody. I hope that was, so let me take a picture. Does anybody know how to take a picture? Does Zoom actually provide a picture, or do we have to just do a screenshot?
I'm going to take a screenshot.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I hope, let me just paste that very quickly on our WhatsApp group. And I will be posting this video on our YouTube channel as soon as it's done recording. So that's it. Thank you, everybody. I do want to take this opportunity to ask the guests if they had any feedback.
I can go first.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I thought, yeah, this is my first time attending a Toastmaster session, and I thought it was very good, very well organized. Um, the responsibilities were really divided really well. So overall, I had a very, very good impression. Yeah, thanks for letting me part of it and observe. One quick question though. So the on Meetup group, I came across this on Meetup group, and it says startup speakers. Is most of the people here kind of, what does that phrase mean in general? Can someone give some more light on that?
Sure. So startup speakers, I'll give a shot. Startup speakers is actually based, if you're in the Sunnyvale area, you know about the Plug and Play Tech Center in Sunnyvale. And that has a lot of startups, and the club grew out of people working in that building for various startups. So that's where the name Startup Speakers started. But we're not in any way, we do want to encourage people who work in startups, and but we're not limited to them. Anybody can join.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, go next. I had joined Toastmaster a while back. I truly enjoy it, but with this difficult pandemic time, it's very difficult. So I'm just, first of all, I really appreciate for the meetup group, great leadership, well organized, well run, and I really enjoy all the speech and the company and learn a lot from each of you. One thing I wanted to know, just curious, is this meetup group is gonna be in a Zoom for some time virtually, because we move out of the Bay Area now, so we kind of want to continue. So how this gonna be run in the future?
We, to be honest with you, right now for the foreseeable future, we are going to be on Zoom. I think our return to the physical location is going to be meditated. It depends on what our physical location is going to be after we return, after restrictions are over. So I think it really depends on Plug and Play. I guess if anybody would like to chime in.
Yeah, I think that we really like the aspect in which people can kind of tune in from anywhere in the world, turning it really international. It's been really fun to do that because we've had people drop in from Dubai and Europe and all these other places. And Tao, when he was visiting China, he was also dropping in as well. This gives everybody a chance to try it out. So we haven't done Zoom prior to the lockdown, but we've been doing it since the lockdown. And even in this area, we're still locked down. And to be honest, I don't know when we're going to get out of lockdown. It's going to be months, even with the vaccines. So it's, in theory, we might go back to the building in this coming year, but even if we did, we'd probably look into trying to figure out a way to try to do Zoom simultaneously, or we might decide that we like doing things remotely, but it really depends. For now, we're going to be on Zoom until the foreseeable future.
That's helpful, thank you.
The only other question I have, and this is just kind of related to other meetings that I do, we are using Zoom, and there are a few other platforms as well. Does anybody have any preferences for platforms that we could do? Like, for example, Google has one, and everybody seems to have one. But does anybody have any problems with Zoom or anything they like better than Zoom, or any feelings on that?
I've tried multiple options like Google. Google's video quality is not very good. In fact, Zoom's just much better than Google's.
If you don't mind me asking, when did you last try Google? I'm just curious.
It's been a few months.
Okay.
I got turned off by Google's abysmal video quality.
Okay.
I don't know what the latest state is, but I think Zoom at that time was just a hands down better option. I believe Microsoft has another tool. I haven't used it, and Amazon's is not worth even mentioning.
Okay. Okay, cool. Anybody else have any feedback on different platforms that they've used?
I think the only other one I tried was this thing called Round the World. Decent platform, but again, it's up and coming, and too much hassle to get new, especially if you want to get new members and guests involved, you better off staying there.
Got it. Got it. Cool. Thanks for the feedback.
Okay, with that, I'd like to close the meeting, and I hope you have a wonderful year. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great Wednesday and Happy New Year.
Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy holidays.
Happy New Year, guys.